From floor plans to 5-year plans, business to finding balance, I'm Ashley Bruggeman, an interior designer with a love for beautiful living and a belief that style and substance go hand in hand. I'm pulling back the curtain on design, resilience, and entrepreneurship. Expect real talk, refined tips, and just the right mix of polish and personality. So pour something sweet and join me for a thoughtful conversation with a generous helping of charm and circumstance. Welcome to episode 1. Today's episode is all about new beginnings, mine, yours, and the why behind this podcast. I am so glad you're here. So we're going to go through the 6 different reasons that I wanted to put this podcast out there. But first, let me introduce myself. I am obviously an interior designer, founder and CEO of Ashley Morgan Interiors. Morgan is my middle name, or was when I was born, and that's where the name of that company came from. I know sometimes it's confusing. And I'm also a writer of a weekly blog and monthly email, aptly named The Monthly Install, both through Ashley Morgan Interiors. I'm also dipping my toe into teaching for the first time as an instructor at the University of Kentucky, my alma mater, go Cats, in the School of Interior Design for the seniors there, a class on the business of design. So I'm currently writing the curriculum for that. I'm so excited to get into that. And I also have the blessing of leading an incredible weekly Bible study group at my church. I'm also a mother and will be an empty nester in a few months as my son goes off to college. So this is a period of my life that is just full of major transitions. I've had the desire to start a podcast for about a year now, and the opportunity presented itself at just the right time. So I'm diving in. I've been so blessed by the presence of other women in my life who are so encouraging, either cheering me on or reminding me that I'm not alone in my experiences. And I've found that these things are so powerful in building up my own courage to push forward or pursue new dreams. I want more than anything for this podcast to be that for you. I want you to leave feeling encouraged that you're not alone, whether we're talking about managing your home, making it feel like the safe nest you've always wanted for your family, or talking about starting and running the business you've dreamed up, but maybe haven't started yet. We're going to cover a unique blend of topics here. They may not always apply to you, but I'm willing to bet they will for many of you. As women, we fulfill so many roles. It's actually mind-blowing when you really think about it. And we're going to honor that here, from designing your home to meet yours and your family's needs, to managing midlife. Holy cow, don't even get me started on that one. Managing a business or the dream of starting one, to your personal faith and how that impacts every other aspect of your life. And finally, joy. I hope that you end each episode feeling like you just left a lunch date with a good friend. If you're someone who needs more time with your friends, those who understand you and encourage you and fight for your dreams right alongside you, then you're in the right place, my friend, because that's exactly what we're going to do. So I want to share with you the 6 reasons why I decided to start this podcast. Each one of them is an aspect of my own life that is so important to me, but I also find valuable to other women. So as a creative, I find inspiration from so many things. Through tactile things. I mean, obviously I am an interior designer, for crying out loud. So color and lighting and furniture and details, I could go on and on. But I also find inspiration in words and thoughts and ideas. There's nothing like being inspired by a friend who has walked a similar path and who can inspire you to get out of your comfort zone and pursue a dream that maybe you thought was out of reach. I want to be the voice in your ear that says, yes, you can try something new. Number 2, to build community. So I used to travel constantly for work. I enjoyed it for that specific season of life, but after some time I realized I had no connection back home to steady relationships or even friends with common interest when I was at home. I missed that. I desperately needed that. I didn't realize that it's what I needed until it became glaringly obvious that it was not present in my life anymore. So I became intentional about joining new organizations where I'd be surrounded by amazing women who shared similar interests. From nonprofits to boards for charitable events to professional organizations where I could connect with others who had similar goals and hurdles to overcome. Now, to be completely transparent, some of these organizations were reminders that not all women are created alike. That's the nice way of saying it. So, in being honest with myself, I realized it wasn't an investment that I wanted to make. However, with most of them, I found that when women unite, it's powerful. And I want this podcast to feel like that table that you pull a chair up to. The third reason that I wanted to start this podcast is to remind you that you're not alone. Like I just mentioned, I spent over a decade traveling constantly for work, and for my entire 20 plus year career, while I've been part of a team that was stretched across a region or the entire country, I've worked alone. It's been my norm. So there are definitely benefits that I find in this, but it can obviously be very lonely. So then you add life's curveballs in, and it can just turn into a season of loneliness. I've consistently found that seasons such as this result in a reinvention of some sort when I handle them well. So if you're in the middle of such a transition, I want you to know I see you. The fourth reason that I wanted to start the podcast is to give purpose to the hard things. Whether it's divorce, secondary infertility, miscarriage, the death of friends at far too young an age, friendships that fade or suddenly end, layoffs, life as a single mom, transitioning to being an empty nester, financial struggles, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And these are just the hardships that I've faced. But I hold the belief that there can be purpose in the hard things, either to encourage others who walk the same path or to change something in us that needed to be leveled up. I think that we can do that together. Telling our stories gives pain a place to land, and sometimes it gives them purpose too. So the number 5 reason that I wanted to start this podcast is to bring laughter. I told you earlier about how I went through a season where I actively engaged in everything I could in order to build my own community and connections. And at one point, such a connection resulted in an appointment to a nonprofit board that I probably would have otherwise never heard about. It exposed me to people and ideas that I'd never been exposed to otherwise, but it also meant that I was totally out of my league. By now, you know a bit about me and my background. So now imagine me in a room full of PhDs and former college presidents who are at least 20 years older than me. This was the board of directors I was part of. For the first year, I sat in those board meetings, holding my phone under the table, literally Googling what they were talking about. It was so ridiculous, and I felt so lost, but it just took time and the ability to laugh at myself and the experience that I found myself in. Or the time I was on the road for work and I was eating dinner at a hotel bar. An older, very distinguished looking man ended up sitting down next to me. He was in a pinstripe suit and it was just totally out of place for the city we were in. And me, being me, decided to run my mouth about it. So I made a comment on it and he mentioned that he'd been in Washington, D.C. earlier in the day, which was why he had on the pinstripe suit. And that just led me to continue putting my foot in my mouth. So the conversation continued. We ate dinner and then he ended up kindly paying for my dinner, even though I had been rude as can be, and said goodbye. And he laid his business card down on the bar and walked away. Well, I picked up the business card, recognized the company name as a very prominent American brand. He was an heir of the family who founded this brand. He was a multi-billionaire. And I just had made the biggest fool of myself. So I just sat there like an idiot. And again, now I can laugh about it. Not every episode is going to be heavy. I hope we're going to laugh because life is definitely better that way. So I'll share my embarrassing stories, and we'll always have something to laugh about, I promise. And lastly, number 6 is to keep learning. So I've had a 20 plus year career, but the learning never stops. And that 20 years has been spent in the construction design industry, but I'm constantly learning new things, and I know I always will be. So there's just no way we can know it all, obviously, but we can learn from one another. So whether it's design or business or family life or relationships, Lord knows there is plenty to learn there. I'll share what I've learned, but I'm also bringing in people that I want to learn from right alongside you. I hope these ideas resonate with you in some way. And so again, these 6 reasons why I wanted to start this podcast are to provide inspiration, to build community, to remind you that you're not alone, to give purpose to the hard things, to bring laughter, and to keep learning. So I want you to know what you can expect from the show. And at this point, I do plan to drop an episode every week on Wednesday. Some of those episodes are going to be solo and some are going to be guest conversations. And we're going to cover design, business, midlife, wellness, faith, personal growth, and the style is just going to be very personal, very vulnerable and honest, polished, hopefully, but not pretentious. I can't wait to engage with you on our Instagram page. You'll find the link in the show notes, and let me know if you've had any of the experiences that I shared today. Thanks for joining me on Charm and Circumstance. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along on Instagram, because charm is personal and circumstance is what you make of it.